Have you ever seen a $10,000 HiFi system and knew immediately the guy who owns it has no idea what he's actually listening to? Because in this hobby, money doesn't buy mastery. It exposes your blind spots. That guy with the $8,000 amplifier and the speakers jammed against the back wall. Amateur, the collector with 5 turntables and 0 acoustic treatment in the room. Also an amateur. I've spent a decade listening to systems at every price point, and I've noticed one consistent thing. Price has nothing to do with setting a system up correctly. Let's fix that. Mistake 1, speaker placement. The fastest way to spot a beginner system from across the room. Speakers against the back wall, jammed into corners, 0 toe-in, 0 symmetry. It's the audio equivalent of buying a watch that's 2 sizes too big because it looked impressive in the case without checking whether it actually fits the wrist. Here's what most showrooms won't tell you, because showrooms are built for visual appeal, not acoustic accuracy. Speaker placement isn't about what looks tidy. It's about a triangle. Your 2 speakers are 2 points. You're the third. The distance between the speakers should roughly equal the distance from either speaker to your ears. Pull them out from the wall at least a foot and angle them inward toward your listening seat rather than firing straight ahead. That's it. That's most of the job. Floyd Toole spent decades at Canada's National Research Council studying how rooms shape what we hear. His work became the foundation for how Harman tests speakers today. He describes a simple test. Play monopink noise through both speakers at once. Sit in your sweet spot. You should hear one single, precise image floating exactly between the 2 speakers. Not a smear, not pulled to one side. 1 point in space. If that image doesn't exist, your placement is wrong, no matter what the speakers cost. 2 identical pairs of bookshelf speakers, 2 different rooms, one jammed against the wall with no toe-in, sound collapsing into mush the moment you move an inch left or right. The other pulled out, angled in, creating a stage that exists in the room independently of where the speakers sit. Same gear, completely different result. $0 spent. Even if you get the placement right, there's another mistake that makes it completely irrelevant, and nobody checks for this one. Mistake 2, reversed polarity. This one is invisible to the eye, instantly obvious to a trained ear. Ever heard a system where the bass just seems to vanish? Thin, directionless, no matter how good the subwoofer is supposed to be? That's usually not a bad subwoofer. That's reversed polarity. Here's how it happens. Each speaker has a positive and a negative terminal. Both speakers need to match. Positive to positive, negative to negative. Same on both sides. Get one backwards, and that speaker now moves outward exactly when the other moves inward. Instead of working together, they work against each other. Frequencies that should stack up and reinforce each other instead cancel out. The technical term is destructive interference. What you hear is a system that sounds mysteriously thin, like someone quietly removed the bottom half of the music. The test takes 30 seconds. Play something with a strong, simple bass line in mono and stand exactly between your speakers. Bass sounds full and centered, you're correctly wired. Sounds hollow and directionless, like it's coming from everywhere at once, go check your terminals. One reversed connection on one speaker and a $10,000 system loses badly to a $200 Bluetooth speaker in the bass department. Nobody tells beginners to check this because nobody expects beginners to get it wrong, but it happens all the time, and it's completely invisible unless you know what to listen for. Even correctly wired speakers can be completely undermined by the next mistake. This one shows up every single time someone compares 2 pieces of gear. Mistake 3. Comparing gear at different volumes. Everyone knows louder doesn't mean better, and almost nobody accounts for it when they're actually comparing equipment. Here's the reality. Your ears aren't flat. They respond differently to the same frequencies depending on how loud the signal is. At lower volumes, bass and treble disappear faster than mid-range. At higher volumes, that gap closes, which means if one amplifier is even slightly louder than another in a comparison, your brain will call it better, fuller, more detailed, more exciting. Not because it is better, because it's louder, and your ears are lying to you about which one is which. This is documented psychoacoustics. It's been known since the 1930s. Mastering engineers solve it with calibrated reference levels. Every comparison matched to the exact same measured output. You don't need a studio to apply the same principle at home. A free sound level meter app on your phone is close enough. Skip it, and you're not comparing amplifiers. You're comparing volume knobs. And if you're presenting that comparison to someone else as if you controlled for it, that's exactly what tells them where you are in this hobby. But volume matching only matters if your source is giving the system something worth comparing in the first place. Mistake 4, undermining your system at the source. Think of it this way. You can build a recording studio with perfect acoustics, great microphones, and a world-class engineer. Feed it a cassette tape, and it will give you a perfect, detailed, utterly faithful reproduction of a cassette tape. The room can't put back what wasn't there to begin with. A $10,000 HiFi system fed entirely by compressed Bluetooth from a phone works exactly like that. You've spent real money on the part everyone can see and skipped the part that determines what actually comes out of the speakers. Standard Bluetooth compresses your music before it reaches your amp. Data from the original recording gets thrown away to fit the signal through a narrow wireless pipe. On cheap earbuds, you'll never notice. On a system with speakers capable of resolving real detail, that compressed ceiling becomes the ceiling on everything. No amount of better amplifier, better cable, or better speakers downstream can retrieve what was discarded before the signal even arrived. I've sat in rooms with genuinely excellent floor-standing speakers being fed by a phone in compressed wireless mode. The speakers were doing everything right. The source simply never gave them anything worth resolving. Then someone switched to a wired source playing the same track, and the entire room changed. Same speakers, same amplifier. One connection swap. That's the mistake. Subscribe if you want to keep hearing this kind of breakdown every week. No sponsored placements, no affiliate pressure. Now let's get into the one mistake that costs people thousands of dollars they'll never get back. Mistake 5, mismatching amp and speaker. Here's what almost every buying guide skips. A speaker's price tag tells you almost nothing about how easy it is to actually drive. What matters is sensitivity, how loud a speaker gets from a given amount of power, and impedance, the electrical resistance it presents to your amplifier. Pair a low sensitivity speaker with an underpowered amplifier, and the amp runs out of headroom long before the volume knob does anything dramatic. The music sounds compressed, lifeless, exactly when it should open up. Now take a correctly matched pairing where sensitivity and power output were actually chosen to work together. That combination will sound more alive, more dynamic, and more effortless than the expensive mismatched pair sitting right next to it. A $500 amplifier properly matched to the right speaker will beat a $2,500 amplifier fighting a speaker it was never built to drive. This is the part nobody markets because you can't sell synergy on a spec sheet. But skipping it is how people end up with five-figure systems that sound noticeably worse than they should. And the mistake sitting right underneath it is even cheaper to fix. Mistake 6, ignoring the room entirely. Your system isn't performing in isolation. It's performing in a room, and that room is part of the system whether you've accounted for it or not. Tools research established something that still surprises people when they first hear it. The room shapes what you hear as much as the speakers do. A bare room with hard parallel walls creates harsh early reflections that smear the soundstage no speaker can correct for. An over-dampened room, all heavy carpet and thick curtains, kills the life and air in music just as effectively in the opposite direction. The target is somewhere between those two extremes. Recording studios design for this deliberately, making spaces acoustically dead so engineers engineers hear only the recording, not what the room adds to it. There's a smaller version of this mistake that's just as common and even easier to miss. Tweeter height. The tweeter, the driver responsible for high frequencies and detail, should sit at ear level when you're seated. I've seen people spend $8,000 on a turntable and serious speakers, then place them on stands 2 inches too short, firing the high frequencies at their chest instead of their ears. The gear was right. The geometry wasn't. And geometry doesn't cost anything to fix. Mistake 7, treating wireless like it's the same as wired. The modern one. The one that splits this hobby down the middle. Wireless streaming is genuinely useful. Background music in the kitchen. A casual listen at a party? Nothing wrong with convenience. When convenience is the point. The mistake isn't using wireless streaming. The mistake is using it for every listening session, including the ones where you've sat down specifically to actually listen and never noticing the difference because you've never bothered to compare. Here's what changes when your system improves. The better a system gets at resolving detail, the more brutally it exposes a compressed source. A system that can hear everything deserves a source that actually contains everything. A wired connection or a lossless streaming tier set correctly gives your speakers something worth resolving. Wireless convenience does one thing adequately in every situation. A properly sourced listening session does one thing perfectly for the moments when you actually want to hear the difference. I've walked into dealer showrooms where salespeople were demoing 6-figure systems off a phone streaming in compressed Bluetooth because it's faster between customers, and then genuinely couldn't understand why the system wasn't landing. The room noticed something was missing. Nobody could tell you what. Why does any of this matter? Because a HiFi system was never just about filling a room with sound. It's about actually hearing what's on the recording, the parts the artist and the engineer spent months getting right, that most systems quietly throw away before the music ever reaches your ears. The difference between a beginner and someone who actually understands this hobby isn't the size of the budget. It's whether they understand the language the system is speaking. Anyone can buy expensive speakers. Far fewer people understand why 2 identical pairs can sound completely different 10 feet apart in the same room because of placement, polarity, and a few decisions that cost absolutely nothing. And here's the twist nobody tells you. Once you actually understand these rules, you earn the right to break them. Recording engineers run mono checks on purpose, not because they forgot stereo exists, but because it tells them something specific. Near-field studio setups deliberately ignore the equilateral triangle for precise technical reasons. The difference between an amateur mistake and an intentional choice is simply whether you understood the rule well enough to know what you were giving up when you broke it. 7 mistakes. None of them require spending another dollar. All of them require paying attention. If this helped you catch something in your own setup, subscribe, because next week we're getting into something that's going to sound completely backwards at first. Why a surprising number of serious listeners have quietly sold their $3,000 amplifier and kept the $400 one in its place. Drop a comment and tell me which mistake hit closest to home. Or tell me one you break deliberately and exactly why. I read every one. Until next time, make sure what you're hearing is actually what's on the recording.